They were warriors trained to kill, but they built one of the world's first financial systems. They carried swords on their hips and ledgers in their sleeves. While Europe's kings drowned in debt, Japan's samurai quietly mastered money, turning rice into gold and loyalty into the foundation of an empire's economy. In the heart of old Japan, where mist rolls down green mountains and rivers glide in silence, there once stood an empire unlike any other. It wasn't built on gold mines or conquest alone, but on loyalty, order, and something far rarer, restraint. For centuries, the samurai ruled Japan, not just with the sword, but with a sense of balance between power and peace, between duty and desire. Yet beneath that polished armor and stoic silence lay a secret many never knew. The samurai were not only warriors, they were also Japan's first bankers. It began in the Edo period, the 1600s, a time when the world was changing, and so was Japan. After centuries of war, the nation finally found peace under the Tokugawa shogunate. The cities grew, trade flourished, but peace brought new problems: money. For generations, samurai had lived on fixed stipends paid in rice, a symbol of wealth and survival. Yet as merchants and townspeople began to grow rich in gold and silver, a quiet imbalance began to form. The warrior class, the proud protectors of Japan, suddenly found themselves poor in coin, rich only in honor. Still, they refused to beg. The samurai way, Bushido, was about dignity, so they adapted, silently, cleverly. Some began lending their rice stipends to others, merchants, farmers, even local lords, in exchange for repayment in gold or silver later. What began as a necessity slowly became an art, the art of finance, samurai style. In the city of Osaka, the beating heart of Japan's economy, these warrior financiers began to appear in secret. They were called kurayashiki, rice brokers. Their storehouses became early banks. Their ledgers, the first financial records of a nation built on discipline. At first, the shogunate didn't know what to make of it. Warriors were supposed to train with swords, not abacuses. But soon they realized something profound. These samurai bankers were stabilizing the economy, giving structure to trade, and maintaining the same order off the battlefield that they once had on it. Behind the scenes, families began to rise, noble houses that mastered the balance between the pen and the blade. Among them were the Mitsui and Sumitomo clans. They began as humble merchants and samurai retainers, but their vision stretched beyond their time. They created systems of exchange, investment, and trust, centuries before Western banks arrived on Japan's shores. The Mitsui family, in particular, became legends. Their founder, Mitsui Takatoshi, was born into a merchant family in Matsusaka, but he learned from the samurai how to control emotion, plan ahead, and see wealth as something deeper than gold. He opened a dry goods store in Edo, but behind the counters, something revolutionary was happening. The first modern Japanese bank was being born. Mitsui's store accepted deposits. Customers could leave their money safely and withdraw it later using written notes. Those notes began circulating in Edo like early currency, trusted, respected, and recognized by both merchants and lords. It was quiet innovation wrapped in tradition. Soon the samurai realized that true power wasn't just in mastering war, it was in mastering flow, the flow of money, of resources, of trust. To control the economy was to control the fate of the nation. In Kyoto and Edo, samurai families formed partnerships with merchant houses. They lent funds, financed trade routes, and even supported rice futures trading, a system so advanced that economists today still marvel at its structure. In some ways, Japan's samurai bankers created one of the world's first organized futures markets. But the paradox was striking. These were men sworn to live without greed. Their code forbade luxury, excess, or personal desire. So how could they deal in wealth without falling to corruption? The answer lay in the same principle that guided their swords: discipline. To a true samurai, money was never the goal, it was the means, the silent servant of duty. Wealth wasn't for pleasure, it was for preservation. And so even in their financial dealings, they carried the same serenity they practiced in battle, every coin measured, every promise honored. As centuries passed, Japan began to open to the world. Western ships arrived on its shores, the shogunate weakened, and the samurai way began to fade. But even as the swords were laid down, the spirit of the samurai bankers endured. The Meiji Restoration of 1868 transformed everything. Feudalism collapsed. The emperor returned to power. Samurai stipends were abolished. Thousands of proud warriors were suddenly without income, their traditions fading like cherry blossoms in the wind. But some among them saw a new path, one not of swords but of numbers. They joined the banks they once inspired. They became Japan's first modern financiers, bureaucrats and industrialists. They carried their values of discipline, loyalty and patience into a new battlefield, the world of business. From these roots came institutions that still stand today: Mitsui Bank, Sumitomo Bank, and later Mitsubishi. Each of these names, now global financial giants, traces its origin back to the quiet rice warehouses of Edo and Osaka, where samurai once guarded the grain of an empire. Even the word zaibatsu, which would later describe Japan's great industrial families, was born from this union between the sword and the scroll. Power, wealth and order, bound together by honor. And yet, what makes the story of the samurai bankers so unique isn't just their innovation, it's their restraint. In the West, wealth often meant display, castles, luxury, extravagance. In Japan, wealth meant endurance. It meant the ability to weather storms, to preserve the family name for centuries, to leave behind not glittering palaces, but unbroken legacies. There's a Japanese proverb, "A samurai's wealth is in his name." It means that no matter how much gold he holds, his true fortune lies in his reputation, his word, his conduct, his faith. That belief shaped Japan's economy long after the last sword was sheathed. It taught future generations that finance could be more than numbers, it could be philosophy, that the quiet mind of a samurai could balance books as precisely as it once balanced a blade. In time, these ideals spread beyond Japan's borders. The world saw the rise of Japanese companies that valued harmony over haste, patience over profit, corporations that planned not for years, but for generations. They built empires of steel, silk, and electronics, each carrying the calm precision of their samurai ancestors. Even today, when you walk through Tokyo's financial district, surrounded by glass towers and digital screens, there's a stillness beneath the noise, a rhythm that feels ancient, because the spirit of those samurai bankers still lingers there, in the way business is done, in the silent respect between partners, in the idea that true wealth doesn't shout, it endures. The story of Japan's samurai bankers is not just about money. It's about a way of thinking, a philosophy of wealth rooted in discipline, trust, and the art of balance. They showed the world that prosperity built on integrity can last longer than any empire, and perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all, that strength without wisdom fades, but wealth with honor lasts forever. As the mist fades over Edo's rivers and the sound of the market returns, one truth remains: the samurai never truly vanished. Their swords may be silent, but their legacy moves quietly through every banknote, every ledger, every act of trust that keeps Japan standing tall. Because some empires are not built on battlefields, they are built in silence, with patience, with honor. You've been watching Wealth Untold, where every story reminds us that fortune is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers.